Hello everyone, today we have a fantastic story about a wife who wanted an open relationship but now regrets it. I never once imagined that I would reach this point where I would turn to strangers online for advice, but here we are. My wife and I have been married for 8 years, but we met in college and were each other's first and only. I genuinely believed that our relationship was special and lovely because of that. However, it seems that was just me. A while back, my wife started working at a new company and initially struggled to fit in because she's always been quiet. However, with my encouragement, she made friends with a group of girls, some of whom were unmarried, divorced, or dating, but initially I was glad she had friends, but then she started going out for drinks, parties, or other activities with her friends. Had planned, but I was worried about her behavior change and tried to talk to her about it without restricting her in any way. This started to affect her relationship in the bedroom because my wife wasn't one to initiate intimacy, but she kept going out because she was either too tired or wasn't feeling it. At one point, her company hired a new manager, and my wife and her friends really liked him. Talking about him casually, but when she got to the point where she was highlighting the way he handled some issues that didn't seem to be work-related, I asked her why she was so fascinated by him, and she dismissed my worries. She even began to ask if I regretted not having more experience with women, to which I replied that I didn't because she was everything I ever needed. I swear, I thought for a second, and I saw a brief moment of sadness in her eyes, but she quickly changed the topic. My wife has never been this kind of person and isn't very liberal sexually, so I was surprised when she started suggesting open marriages as a way to spice up our marriage. I initially refused and asked if this had anything to do with the new manager, to which she denied it, but said she felt like she missed out, but didn't want to lose me, so this was a safer option. I wonder if she was playing with fire. I, on the other hand, had a few dates but no one-night stands because it often felt wrong to me. My wife would ask me if I was okay, but she wouldn't change her behavior, so I felt the love I had for her. Then, reluctantly and naively, we agreed to set some rules, mainly not to sleep with someone else in our home. For a year, my wife went on dates and had one-night stands. As if I didn't see it coming, she was in some sort of relationship with that manager. I ended up going on a date with a wonderful woman who immigrated from South Korea. Her conversation was easy, and she had a quick wit crack and a smile that would make anyone forget themselves. This naturally led to more dates until we were intimate, and I honestly never had sex like I had with this woman. I never knew a woman could be so giving and make one feel so desirable. At first, my wife found it adorable, but as the months passed, she started to doubt my relationship with my lover. I quickly clarified that this was her idea, and I was worried about the fact that she was seeing the manager. She remained silent, appearing to want to say something, but she started arriving home early to surprise me with dinner and clean the house extra thoroughly. I barely gave in to her attempts at intimacy, and when I did, it was just to get it over with. Something in me towards my wife was dying, and I could see she felt it too. She also started coming to my workplace to drop off lunch, and she started to initiate intimacy in the bedroom. To be honest, if it weren't for her opening up our marriage, which I am also responsible for agreeing to, all of this would have made me jump with joy. I asked her what had changed. What changed was that she told me she wanted to show me that she loved and was happy with me, which I never meant to do, but I started laughing. I asked her about her small circle of friends, her manager lover, or her one-night stands, but she didn't answer that day and just went to bed crying. When I got home the following day, she was waiting for me and told me she wanted to end our marriage. The entire experience was terrible. I told her to be honest with me and tell me what started all of this because she regrets everything and wants us to be the focus of our relationship again. Unbelievably, her group of friends planted the idea because of their many sexual exploits, and when her manager came around, he surprisingly supported that lifestyle and encouraged my wife to live freely. It seems that this led to an emotional affair that only turned physical once the marriage was consummated. Wow, that makes it better. She compared it to driving a rapid car while intoxicated, saying it was exhilarating and intoxicating, but the cost of the choice has now become too excellent for her to bear. She realizes that what we had was genuinely unique and special, and she never needed a comparison, but now she feels as though she destroyed our marriage and any chance of a life. She broke down in front of me when I told her that I might never be able to see her as my wife again. I just held her in silence while she sobbed until she passed out on the couch in my arms. She has since quit her job, severed all ties with her manager and friends, and even told me that she is willing to spend the rest of her life making amends and working tirelessly to earn my approval as a wife, but I haven't cut. We have our first marriage counseling session in a few hours, and I'm not sure how that will go. My lover, quite frankly, makes me feel like a man, like I can challenge the world, and my wife hasn't had that feeling in a while. The truth is, I don't know what to do in this situation, and I would love to get the special feeling back if possible. My lover essentially saved me when I was at my lowest. My wife seemed objective and genuinely willing to assist, despite the fact that it was our first session. It seems she admitted that this group of friends made her question whether she had lost her chance because she was devoted to her first boyfriend and had no other experiences. She had never had the same adventures that some of these supposedly amazing women had, some of whom are divorced. But when the new manager began approaching her, some of these friends encouraged her to see where it went, saying that this was an opportunity for her to explore or discover herself. She clearly felt guilty, so she says that she never did anything physical until one of the divorced ones. None of them are married. The therapist pointed out that this can be and often is detrimental to a marriage due to the difference in mindset, and my wife seemed to agree. Recommended an open marriage as a workaround and informed her that some couples emerge stronger as a result. Unfortunately, she claims that after persuading me to do so, her adventure started. It was blinding and intoxicating, but it lacked genuine substance, unlike the kind we developed over the years, and she began to doubt why she had done it. She claimed to be able to see the hurt in my eyes, but she told herself it was an adventure. She claimed that she would never forgive herself for this opportunity to have a wonderful experience, so the seriousness of it all didn't really sink in until she noticed a change in me. Initially, she thought that because I went on dates, I would eventually come to terms with her circumstances and be fine with them, but that all changed when my lover started to show up frequently in my adventures. It seemed as though I began to smile again for no apparent reason, and my eyes would light up when I cheerfully left the room to answer a phone call, she reported that she had a sudden pit in her stomach and began experiencing frequent panic attacks for no apparent reason. She sought advice from her friends once more, but they said that this was a normal reaction for me to have during the adventure. However, it wasn't until the same divorced person who had initially suggested this said that it seemed like his lover made him happy that she realized the truth of the situation and the very real possibility that she realized how ridiculous this whole situation was and begged them to help her win me back, but they simply told her, if she couldn't handle it, why did she open her marriage in the first place? She knew right away that these people were toxic and a threat to our marriage and the life we've built, so she's been on a mission to win me back by any means necessary. The fact that another woman, not his wife, gave him joy nearly made her faint. However, I informed the counselor about my situation with my lover still in the photo, and the counselor suggested that we schedule another appointment after tomorrow. The counselor stated that it was unusual for someone to stay with her for this long and gave the impression that any storm could be overcome, so I have a strong suspicion that she wants us to be one of her successors. I apologize for the lengthy post, but I thought I might as well give a complete update. I still haven't figured out how to link posts, and I want to sincerely thank everyone who has contacted me. I apologize for not being able to respond to everyone, whether via email or the post. I appreciate your support, and this is the update thus far. It's literally been an episode of Jerry Springer. Since then, I've moved into my brother's flat for an absurdly low price. He owns properties and would have given me a free stay, but I declined. Here are some of the things I learned about my wife's actions, as well as some disturbing details about her manager during our second counseling session. I also asked some of the questions that some Redditors asked. 1. If she was certain that nothing physical occurred prior to the marriage ceremony. She looked at the ground and pleaded with me not to force her to say it, saying that if she did, it would ruin us. However, after some coaxing, she revealed that it wasn't physical, but they touched themselves in front of each other. This jerk persuaded her that it wasn't technically cheating because it wasn't physical and that they were just taking in each other's complete beauty. I was so shocked by this that she began to shake and breathe heavily. When my wife started crying and apologizing to me, even the counselor was shocked and gave me a disbelieving look. She even got down on her knees and hugged my legs while apologizing for the second time. I asked her what had affected her opinion of him the most, and she replied that it was after she began to distance herself from the group as a whole that he began acting differently toward her. Then, one evening as she was leaving her, she heard him talking about her to a male coworker as she passed his office. He said he was shocked at how simple it was to get her and that she is living evidence that you can't trust the quiet ones. When the coworker asked if he really liked her, he replied that she was a delightful diversion and that he had no plans to end his relationship with his fiancée. He even added that this was just to get it out of his system. Because his fiancée was the only woman who ever understood him, he didn't want to end their relationship. He also said that he felt bad for me, but you snooze, you lose, my wife. She said that when she realized she was just a piece of meat to this man, and that the fact that she had betrayed me for a cheap thrill made her suicidal, she left her job and puked in the parking lot. She also said that her first thoughts were, "What have I done? Please tell me my name." "I'm very sorry, 3. Please pardon me." She looked me in the eye with tears and said, "I never stopped loving him," which honestly makes it worse, adding that he was just something different. She thought it was love, but now she realizes how stupid she was. She then squeezed my arm with unexpected strength and said, "I know I messed up." She even suggested that we move away and start over, just the two of us, as it was meant to be. I told her that it wouldn't be fair to my lover and that I needed time away from her to process all of this, but she seemed to have a meltdown at those words. She began to cry more and say things that were not coherent, and she held on to me as if I were going to disappear. It took me and the counselor some time to ease her anxiety. I wish I could wrap up the update with this, but as we got home, I started packing when my wife received a video call from her laptop from one of her old friends who was crying. It turns out that after my wife resigned, this friend and the manager started dating, but apparently she had a pregnancy scare that made him basically turn into Dr. Jekyll. To make things worse, she had a boyfriend with whom she reportedly saw a future, and the only reason she even had a brief affair was because she was interested in the experience. It's funny that this seems to be a trend, as her boyfriend discovered an email between the two discussing the possibility of pregnancy, but the manager essentially accused her of baby trapping him. Naturally, he left her, and she made contact because she thought, "My wife's crazy behavior and how it changed us, some things have happened so far, and I've been staying in the flat ever since." First and foremost, I want to thank everyone who took the time to reach out and share either helpful advice, your own similar life story, or just thoughts about how my wife saved our marriage and how desperately I needed advice. Offered to listen to me vent because it really means a lot. A lot has happened. The former friend who had the pregnancy scare was actually pregnant, but she lost the baby due to the stress of losing her boyfriend and the humiliation of the affair. She basically lost it when she threw a fit at the manager, exposing him to all of upper management and his fiancée. I happened to find his fiancée on Facebook and was intrigued. And according to her profile, this woman is a special needs teacher who is a homebody and very family-orientated. I initially thought, what the hell is he doing messing around with other women when he's got her at home? Truly, one of the biggest mysteries of life is how men like him end up with women like her. The former friend actually contacted me. Wanted my version of events because she was gathering evidence against him, but she wanted to do it in person. She had already completed her COVID test, and I did too. I knew she was broken the moment I saw her face. The red iris and dark circles under her eyes were obvious signs that she didn't get any sleep and was troubled by her own thoughts. She thanked me for agreeing to meet with her and apologized right away for her role. I thanked her for her efforts, but I asked her why she had gone this far. She explained that losing both a child and the love of her life had fundamentally changed who she was, and that she could hardly look in the mirror without feeling disgusted. In my wife's adventure, it turns out that she and my wife spoke again when she found out that I had moved out. She wanted to accept responsibility and didn't shift blame, which is why she wanted to meet in person. can't sleep because all she sees is her ex's face from the day he discovered that she obviously hated herself, and she tells me that the meeting may have been a kind of punishment for her because he will probably be fired and possibly banned from that field altogether for fracturing among co-workers, which is a violation of conduct. She took it, apologized once more, and left after hearing my side of the story. I needed to retrieve some items from the old place, so I chose a time when I thought my wife wouldn't be home, but she was. What surprised me was that she had the majority of our wedding pictures on the coffee table, along with others, and she was looking at them. When she saw me, I could see she was crying, and she attempted to give me a hug, but I gently pushed her away. She tried to offer me lunch, but I told her that I wasn't hungry and that I would be fine with a few things before continuing. She then said she had something to show me, and she took out her phone to show me a message she had received 2 days prior from her former manager, who chastised her. It was from a new number because she had blocked his old one, and it seemed that my wife had helped her former friend expose him to all the parties that mattered, and he was furious. I told her that although I was glad she had the courage to do so, it doesn't change anything between us. I also told her that I would be stopping marriage counseling and switching to individual counseling instead. This caused her to sob quietly, and she said she understood. I know I'm supposed to feel either elation at the actions taken or rage. The idea came from a chump lady and marriage builders. She believed that by exposing the secret, she was removing its power and giving us a fighting chance. I want to address this in individual counseling rather than marriage counseling because it took this long, but I feel numb towards her. I have also seen a divorce lawyer at my brother's recommendation just to be safe, because I'm not really willing to fight for this marriage right now. It seems like my wife sensed it before I left. She tried to initiate intimacy, but when I refused, she yelled and asked what my lover does for me. I'm sure the neighbors heard her voice so loudly, saying that whatever I wanted, she would do it. I shook my head and told her that if she still couldn't tell after everything that had happened, then it's obvious where our marriage is going, and your wife has really begun to see the consequences of her actions. The sad truth is that she would do anything to go back and avoid making the same poor decisions, but things don't work that way. Perhaps she can work on herself and become a better partner, but it probably won't be with you because she has already destroyed her life. However, you can be certain that she will always think of you and regret what she did, which is more than many of us received from our mistakes.